What's happening, my beautiful people? My name is Dirty Mike, and today, my friends, we're back into action with another 40 and 40 if you're brand new. All 40 matches from the weekend league in one place, and we're going to talk about tips, tricks, what was good, what was bad. If you enjoy the content, you want to see another episode, and I apologize for this episode being pushed back a little bit later in the week. With Team of the Year, it just took precedent, but we're going to try to make some magic happen after the weekend. I'm going to grind it out, and sometimes following a weekend, I feel so hungover from playing FUT Champs because 40 matches in a quick period while creating content, it's a lot to digest. And before you say, Mike, you make FIFA content, that's a great job. I understand. I'm just saying these are stressful matches. They're not easy going. They're not free flowing. A lot of them are park the bus and wide formations. And we're going to discuss all of the above in this video. Also, in the comments down below, which goal did you think was best and which one did you think was the worst? Because I'm not gonna front, I scored some screamers. We got some good build up. We got a bicycle kick maybe in this episode. And then on the other end, you got the lucky bounces, the nasty bounce back, or the nutmeg of the goalkeeper. I'm gonna let you guys decide. We might put together some of my best goals from the weekend league all in one video, and then also some of the worst, some of the FIFA fails. And on screen, that's the squad that I started off using. And we're going to talk about some adjustments, and we're going to break it all down. Let's get this underway. Lastly, if you need cheap codes or cheap games, especially right now with Team of the Year, head over to g2a.com, use Dirty at checkout, get yourself that extra cash bag bonus. And it's underway. Match numero uno. And I always feel a bit of pressure in my first 2 or 3 matches. I'm not sure if it's butterflies. If you guys can relate with being an athlete, you always felt some sort of anxiety. At least I did. Butterflies, but they were good. They weren't bad. I just think it reminds you that you care about the result. It's in your competitive nature. And I want to start out by discussing the team because I'm in that 4-3-3, which if you've been on my channel for a while, you know that I'm switching into the 4-1-2-1-2, the pro swap. And up top, I had as my right striker was Ronaldo, my left striker was George Weah. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, after 9 games, that's right, 5, 4, 9, I decided, George Weah, you got to go. Very expensive, but just wasn't the real deal. I felt that Griezmann or Bale would be better suited as a left striker than George Weah. Maybe it's the 3-star weak foot on that left striker peg. And you could say, Mike, why don't you use Ronaldo there? Well, in my opinion, whoever your best right-footed attacking player is, if they're capable of playing as a striker, should be that right striker. And Ronaldo wasn't going to be replaced. He does so much for me, and he's capable of the bullshit goals. Just something that's only going to work for Ronaldo. And you'll see a few of those where you're sitting back and you're like, I don't know how Mike's going to score in this circumstance. And then Ronaldo comes out of nowhere and he bumps somebody and he bumps another guy. He somehow finds himself on the end of a bounce back and he taps it home. And that's why you want to have Ronaldo in his best position, which in my opinion, right striker. And I stick to that rule. And it's always nice to have a left-footed player on the left side of the pitch. So as your left striker, your left winger, your left midfielder, if possible. Of course, that's an advantage. But it's more than just what's on the surface here. It's much deeper with George Weah, where statistically he still looks like a monster, but in game it's not there. It's not necessarily with his positioning or his speed, but when you look at his card, you see, I think it was 81 physical. And he has an 80-something for strength. But in-game, you don't feel that. You don't see that. And he doesn't have that legend, spectacular, especially with his weak foot. So if I'm in 1v1 situations and you're on your left side, it's very important to be able to slot it home. Not necessarily how hard can you hit it, but can you place it? Can you make this happen? That's why the Griezmanns, the Stoichkovs, the Gareth Bales, the George Best, the Lionel Messi, all these left-footed players, except for George Best, I don't know why I threw him in there. He's capable of just doing things with both feet. But it's why some of these guys have came onto the, or have risen in price, or became so popular with FUT Champions. I should put Del Piero in there with the 5-star weak foot. Because they can play on both sides, and you're not going to have a fall-off. And that's why the left-footed players are just so valuable, because they're the best at those across-the-body shots. And boy, are they overpowered. If you've watched some of my finishing tutorials, I'm preaching over and over again, across the body, across the body, across the body. Is there a place and a time for some near post or a finesse shot? Sure. But if you're in doubt, if you're having issues with finishing, you don't know what you're doing wrong, cross the body. That's what you're doing wrong, cross the body. Anytime that you're in doubt, please shoot it across the body. Good things happen, whether it's a rebound, it's a goal, it's a corner kick. Keepers just don't save the across the body shots from inside the box or outside the box very well. Not in my opinion. It doesn't matter if you have De Gea or Neuer, and Butland's even in the same discussion this year, or Begotovic. Yeah, Begotovic. Got to give him a nickname. But we're still talking about the team here. As a center attacking midfielder, I got Rui Costa, who I've used in multiple weekend leagues. I trust him. And I don't want to spoil too much in terms of the highlights in this weekend league. It's the best that I've ever done in the weekend league. Good time as well. While we're starting this regional qualifier, you never know what's going to happen. All you can hope is that you produce well. That you produce maybe some of your best footy or your best FIFA skills, and you have your big moments. Because FIFA is often defined by those big moments. We all have games where we beat people 5-0, 5-0, 5-0. We're just blasting folks. But those are not going to be what decides where you finish in FUT Champs. You have to win the 1-0s and the 2-1s and the 90th minute goal here or the penalty kick battle that y'all had. You need to come out on top if you really want to finish above. I would say 35 wins and up is where you start needing these bounces or needing to have the superior moment. When you're running into these types of scenarios where you might only get one chance at this, or it's just going to be something where everything is magnified. You're on the big stage. Everybody's watching. What are you going to do with it? And that comes into play with 35-plus wins. Just having the ultimate level of composure, both defensively and offensively. And then as my center mids, which is good money in this team, we've got Paul Pogba on the right. We have Vieira, and then Gareth Bale, who I like as a center mid. He's my left center mid. I think that always works well. And what I did, if you didn't catch my drift, after 9 games, Griezmann came on, and I sold George Weah because there was a few situations, and he wasn't not performing. I think through 9 games, he had 6 goals and a few assists. I'll show you guys the statistics towards the end of the video, but it wasn't that he wasn't performing statistically, but I just knew when I got into these big moments, when I got into these matches that mattered so much, and that you weren't going to get a bunch of chances. You weren't going to overwhelm your opponent. You both were on the same playing field, that I couldn't miss the chances that I was missing early on. And because I recognized that, I think it was a great decision. I mean, of course, if you start switching your squads over the weekend league as it's already started, that's kind of a dicey decision. I wouldn't recommend it, but I've played enough FIFA this year where I knew there was going to be problems with George Weah on the left side. There was just going to be issues. He just didn't have that placement. It wasn't in his DNA. It's too bad because in other FIFAs, man, he was the guy. He was a legend that you felt that you needed to have. He was worth the coins. But this year, I can't stress this enough. I was also talking to Shant. Some of you guys may know him. He's a Twitch sub. He also hated George Weah. He used a lot of legends. He used all the Team of the Year players. Just didn't work. He just did not work. Doesn't matter what you see on the card. Doesn't matter when you look on Foothead. It just wasn't all there. And I want to make a quick disclaimer. There's 3 matches, and you may notice it. You might not notice it. They might not look as good as some of the other games. I had 3 matches that didn't necessarily have corrupt footage from Elgato, but there was some sort of issue, and I had to pull from a secondary storage device that I kind of had a second Elgato running. Yeah, it's got to that point. Either way, they didn't come through as good. I had to handbrake them, which is a program you might be familiar with, maybe not. But it allows you to basically convert or compress a file, and that's what I had to do for 3 of the matches to make it work, and everything was compatible then with Adobe Premiere. But on the positive note, it's all in there. And I don't even know if you'll notice it after I've rendered out this video, but I'm throwing it out there. If you guys get in the comments like, hey, there was a couple games that, I don't know, it was like the transitions were a little shakier. The gameplay wasn't quite as clean. Did something go down? Well, there you have it. You heard it here first. And I played on Saturday this past weekend, and it was unplayable. I played 3 matches on Saturday, and all 3 of them were so awful that I decided, screw it, I'm not playing Saturday. I lost one. I went to penalties in another, and the other one, I think I won 1-0 in a game that I got dominated. So nothing good. No positives other than that I had 2 wins and only 1 loss because I could have lost all 3. It was that bad, and it's unfortunate, but with servers, they're hard to predict. I don't know what to tell you guys. People all want to know, how do I get better connection? How do I reduce lag and delay? And some of it's built-in server delay or server lag or server issues. And I'm not sure as a content producer what I can tell you to fix this. You can reset your router and pray, come on EA. Or you can try different times throughout the day. I don't know your schedule. Because over the weekend, we've got a lot of games to play and you've still got to grind them out however fits best. And unfortunately, maybe the servers are terrible on Friday, they're good on Saturday, and then they're awful on Sunday. So that means if you played a lot on Saturday, you had better connection versus the Friday or the Sunday. And that's a hypothetical. It could be the vice versa. It's just a toss-up. Late night, early morning, midday. I don't know. I don't know what decides the connection. And it just makes me, I'm not going to say sad, but disappointed. Because this is the competitive game mode. It's dedicated servers. They stressed the dedication in those servers. And what they really mean, hey, you're not going to get DDoSed. We're not going to allow your opponent to kick you off the server because we have dedicated servers. But are you still going to get disconnections from time to time? Yes. Are the servers going to be slow? And I'm talking much slower than if you were playing in divisions or you playing in the draft. Absolutely. And we can't tell you when or how long or if it's going to work or if you might need to do an emergency maintenance. If you remember one of the weekends, they actually extended the weekend league because they had some issues with their servers and they had to take them down for a little while, which obviously affected people's schedules and when they were going to get games done. Let me know in the comments, what days do you play? Do you try to space it out evenly? Are you playing anywhere between 12 to 15 matches on a Friday, 12 to 15 on a Saturday, 12 to 15 on a Sunday? How are you making this all happen? Because I'm just curious. I don't know if there is really a foolproof plan. I don't think there's more that goes into this in terms of how to find the best players or avoid the best players or whatever you're trying to do. I don't know how deep the game plan can be rooted. Because every once in a while I'll get a message like, Mike, you backed out of me, or there's a guy that I beat 3-0 and he sent me a message like, I can't believe you're top 100. It's like, what did you want me to do? I had 65% possession. I won the game 3-0. What was supposed to happen in that match? And you were playing defensive. Like, I couldn't have had a more commanding lead or a more definite win. I guess you could say I didn't score more goals, but I mean, like, in terms of our creation on the pitch or the domination or the control levels, we're not even on the same page or the playing field. And every weekend I just hope, like, please let me get matched up with people where the connection's not awful. Let me play pretty good. Let me put together some 1-2s. Let me have that quality build-up that I can bring to YouTube. And you can see it when I'm having problems with internet. A lot of the goals, it shows where you might not see lag in the match or delay in the match, but you're like, damn, that's a bad touch. Oh, man, that's a sloppy goal. Damn, there's a lot of pass across. Or there's a lot less of the face-up dribble, which is something I love. The L2R2. I did a tutorial on this, but I think anybody that is good at FIFA should have a very good understanding of the usage of the face-up dribble. And if you're someone who likes to abuse it, which a lot of pro players do, then you should have a mastery of that skill set because it's universal. Anyone can do it. And there's a certain level of comfort, whether you have a defender, a midfielder, or an attacker. It's something that's important. Kind of like shielding. Understanding the shielding mechanics this year is more important than any other previous installment because I shield my fullbacks a lot because I need to turn to the inside or I need to brace myself because I've got a Ronaldo or a Gareth Bale pressing me and I'm not always going to have an open man just yet. I got to buy a half second or maybe even a whole second just to make sure people are getting into position and I'm finding the correct gaps. It's that important. And I can't stress it enough. And timing and rhythm in FIFA, they go hand in hand. If you're off on either one, or especially if you're off on both, you're like, damn, I'm just not putting together my normal gameplay. Things aren't clicking for me, and it's that important. It really and truly is that important. Let's not stop there, though. We got to talk about the defense, and I've stressed this once, probably twice, maybe 3 times, but it's all about comfort. And I'm using the typical Alaba, Boateng, and then Smalling, Kyle Walker. Some people have started using Alexandro in their teams because a lot of people feel that he's better than Alaba. I'm not mad if you're one of those people. I just think it's more difficult to include him into a squad unless you have a legend defender to go with Alexandro. Or you're willing to sacrifice somewhere. Maybe Nainggolan comes into your squad. I just got the informed Nainggolan, though. Thumbs up for that. But one of the last additions I'll make to this team will be the defenders and making changes there. Just because anytime that I make improvements, I want it in the attack because I feel that my defense has been pretty solid. In terms of how many goals am I giving up? How many goals am I conceding? Where are your strong points? Where are your weak points? Where do you want to get an advantage? And the next player that I plan on picking up is Ruud Gullit, and I'm actually going to play him as a cam. We're going to have Griezmann up top. We're going to have Ronaldo as our right striker, Gullit in behind. I can't justify 2.8 million coins and not have him be involved in the attack. At least that's how I feel. And then in the midfield, we'll probably go Gareth Bale, Pogba, Vieira. That's been pretty solid for me. Got a good mixture of pace, physicality, and then positioning with Vieira, man. He sits back. And then we're talking again about defense. And Neuer's been great for me in goal, mainly because he's just been consistent. Every weekend, he's been pretty solid, and I can't knock somebody. And I understand so much preference is involved where people say all day, every day, I hate Neuer. He's underwhelming. Doesn't work for me. I'm not mad at you. I'm not saying you're not correct. I think a lot of people prefer De Gea over using Neuer. But for me, my Neuer's been good. So it's like, if it's not broke, I'm not trying to fix it. I don't know about that new Team of the Year Neuer. He costs so much, which it puts me in a weird position because if I buy him, how many more saves am I really going to get for that price tag? Because in previous years, I can remember Team of the Year cards or Team of the Season goalkeepers. They weren't that much better. In some cases, I didn't feel like they were better at all. So I almost felt like EA was baiting me into spending a bunch more money. Large sums of income here. And I'm not even going to get an improvement. So if you've used Team of the Year Neuer, I'd love to know your opinion on him. Down below in the comments, did you feel like he was better? Did you feel like he was the same? Did he give up the same type of goals? What's the deal? And when I talk about goalkeepers, it's all about what types of shots you concede most frequently. I think different goalkeepers save certain shots better than others. So certain goalkeepers are very good with the breakaways. Some are better at stopping the long shots. Some defend against crosses where they come out naturally and they push them out of here and they're very physical. Some will get down to low shots better. Some will get up for the high ones a little bit better. I always have trouble. If I had to list the 3 goalkeepers that give me the most problems, and I want you guys to do the same in the comments. 3 goalkeepers that you face and you're like, damn, this might not go as well as I was hoping. I feel like I'm going to have to pass it across. I'm going to have to sweat it. I'm going to have to tramp it. I'm going to have to go for the automatic. I just can't beat these guys. And I'm not sure that I'm listing these in order, but number 1 is Courtois. That guy, I don't know what it is, and thankfully I don't see him that often in squads just because the link-up play is kind of difficult. You have to sacrifice with your center backs, unless you have legends, of course, to get Courtois in your team with full chemistry. You might have that Vincent Kompany link-up, and that's fine. Do that then. Vincent Kompany is not that dominant this year, in my opinion. So it's Courtois. Number 2 is going to be De Gea, and number 3 is going to be Butland. So even though I use Neuer, when I go up against Neuer, he doesn't hurt me that much. It hasn't been a bad experience. I don't have many matches where I'm sitting back, like, God, I just couldn't beat Neuer. He was on fire. It's not that he's never on fire, but from my personal experience, the 3 that have me reflecting on the game, it's got to be Courtois, where I'm complaining during that game, and then Butland, as well as who am I missing? I just threw it out there. Oh, and De Gea. De Gea had some good games against him. Butland, once he gets started, he makes a couple early saves. I just feel that I'm gonna get the bad end of that exchange. It just seems to be one of those situations when Butland's on, man, he's on. Got to be one of the most overpowered players. If I was gonna make a follow-up video to some of my player rating videos in terms of which player's the best, for cheap, expensive, value, all the above, I'd have to have Renato Sanchez and Butland battling it out for most overpowered in terms of their overall rating and what they give you match in and match out and the consistency they bring and how they can help you win more matches now. If you just got the game for Christmas, I would highly recommend Renato Sanchez, because it costs you next to nothing, Butland, next to nothing. Put them into your starting 11, watch them work, cheer them on, appreciate them, re-sign them, give them whatever contracts they need. Feed those guys because they can truly make a team for you. It's crazy to think a 78 overall Renato Sanchez, and what is Butland's an 82, can dictate a match to that extent. And when I was looking at statistics, I've added in, of course, the post hits, which some weekends they seem to be a lot more frequent than others. I think you guys appreciate it. It makes the videos a little bit longer, and I try to show a decent amount of build-up so you guys can really get a feel of how I'm playing, what I'm looking for. I did score in 40 games. I'll throw these stats out there. They shouldn't give away too much. I did score... Can I get a drum roll? Maybe I'll make you wait. No, I did score 8 corner kicks. And I also am going to have 12 rage quits. And that's what kills my skill rating. And I want to discuss skill rating again because I just feel as if we still don't know. But I've been talking to people on Twitter about skill rating and what builds it up. And I think rage quits hurt your skill rating. I think the minutes played or the minutes completed plays a part in your skill rating. So if you beat somebody 3-0 and they stay for the whole entire game, you'll get more points on that match versus someone who played, you were up 3-0 in the 35th and he quit out. You know, each game is 3-0. I'm not talking about what your opponents might have had for skills. Even the guy that rage quit, if he had a higher skill rating than the guy that didn't rage quit, I still think you get a better benefit from the non-rage quitter. And of course, in theory, skill points and skill rating should also be based on where is my opponent at? How many skill points does he have? Who did I beat? Who did he beat? How do we match up? Etc. But this is EA Sports that we're talking about, where because they don't keep an open line of communication, it's impossible as a content creator or consumer to know. How do we know what's really going on? We have to assume, and that's why there's so many different YouTube content creators talking about every little niche within FIFA, because it's opinionated, because there aren't very many facts. Oh, is this inform better? Oh, does handicapping exist? What about momentum? Man, I just feel like this guy doesn't have a 4-star weak foot. We can debate so many different features from within the game because EA never comes out and talks about they're good and they're bad and they're in between. I still don't understand, and I would love a statement on why, when you play FUT Champs, and we've discussed this on my channel, why? Yeah, that's right. Why do they show the club name? And they show when your club was established. It's just backwards logic. And I feel from a consumer standpoint here, it just doesn't make sense. The longer I've played the game means it's going to be impossible for me to find matches in FUT Champs because people are not playing FUT Founders 2010, 2011, 2012 accounts. They're not. And I've seen it on live streams where people will sit there for 15 to 20 minutes searching for a match. And usually if they find a match, there's somebody else that's around the same establishment date as them, because a lot of the newly established clubs, they're not playing. And that's frustrating. And I do want to transition out of that because we've discussed it many, many times. I want to talk about tactics. And I want to talk about formations. So if you play a narrow formation, such as myself, where I'm playing a lot of 4-1-2-1-2, or I like the 4-3-1-2 as well. Either way, both of those formations, the weakness is going to be a wide formation, a 4-3-3-4, or 4-3-3. Is it the second variation that has the 2 CDMs? I've been seeing that more often, which makes me sad because what it ends up looking like, 7 defenders and 3 attackers. Because you have the 2 CDMs, they just stay back, and people put that back line way back there, and the other guy's a center mid who also often sits back. He could act like a cam, depends on their team, and they look to counter through the wings. And that style is nasty. Oh, talk about not making friends. Oh, it makes everybody want to send a message. I hate that. If you're watching this video and you're one of those people that doesn't attack, you do everything to throw men back. I hate it, dude. You might make my list. And I do have a list, but my list, because we haven't talked about it in a while, it's not that deep. I think it has 40 people on it, 40 names, and I've played every single weekend up to this point, so that's a lot of weekend league. And if you're on it, you earned it. It's only for the biggest of hoes. I'm talking guys that park the bus immediately into a game. Custom formation immediately into a game. So it's 0-0. That's just how you wanted to play out this match. Not that you held the ball for the last 10 minutes. That doesn't put you on my list. I'm not going to love it. I'm not going to appreciate it, but I can understand it. I understand the sweat and the stress and everything that goes into FUT Champs. I'm still going to complain, especially if I lost that game. Also, if you beat me, does not mean you get on any list of mine. I'm not putting any extra thought into wins and losses here. It's all about enjoyment of matches and fulfillment of matches for me. As someone who enjoys playing FIFA, I don't want to play against people that I know are ready to park or trying to do that from the very jump of the match, the very beginning. They're not going to try to outplay you. They might hold the ball in the back from the beginning, and they almost like a troll, especially considering if you're playing me, you probably know that you're playing me. Therefore, I get a lot of trolls. I think I experience more trolling than most people. And what I mean by trolling is I'll go up against people and they do things that are strange. It'll be a good player. Someone I can tell can move the ball around. He understands skill moves. He understands the attacking mechanics, the defensive mechanics. But instead of using his understanding or how he's grasped and what he's been able to accomplish for the year, the guy will go to a custom formation with 9 defenders and 2 attackers. And it's almost like a game or a joke. It's like, can I take a game off Mike? Can I frustrate Mike from playing FIFA? Whatever it might be. I feel like it's a form of trolling just because you know you're playing me versus coming out and trying to beat me in a 1v1 as opposed to whatever that is. I don't know. I think we've all experienced some stupidness with custom formations. And it doesn't make sense for that to be included in FIFA, mainly because it's banned from offline events. So if it's banned in an offline event, why is it online? And I know it's so easy for EA to make changes because they do it. That's why I snapped. They do it. If you go to the draft, you can't change formations. Pretty easy then. Shut down the custom formation mode, and well, here we are. We've got something that's been a good change to FUT Champs. And this is where I talk about communication with the people that are creating content and just the consumers and the fans of your title. And I don't understand why they refuse to listen. I almost feel like EA puts themselves on a pedestal that separates them from being the same as the everyday player. You talk about, oh man, this content creator, he seems like a good person. He's relatable. He's down to earth. I'd like to kick it with him. I'd have a beer with that guy. EA's the opposite of that. EA's so corporate where they stand here, you stand here. So if you say something that might be a good idea, they're like, but look where he's at. Look where his status is at. He's low. He's just a regular person. He's just somebody that's creating content with our game. He's just marketing our product all year long. People are just playing the game because they also like watching his content. He's nobody. And they don't take a lot of times what we say into consideration. I mean, I've visited EA Studios, and they invited me there, and we literally talked about the game none. If you guys have been on my channel for a long time, I believe it was 2014, I had a celebration that I got to motion capture that was in, I think it was FIFA 14. It was called Le Cirque La Belle. Look it up. Look it up. I think it's FIFA 14, though. But I just remember going to Canada, and we never even talked about the game, so it was like, in my opinion, didn't matter, even though they had someone who was playing at the pro level, winning events, you know, one of the best players nationally, and was doing really well in even world events at that period in my life, and never came up, never was discussed. And I wish that they asked us for feedback sometimes, because we play the game more than the people that work on the game. The developers do not play more FIFA than the content producers or you guys that are really involved, that are hardcores. No, they don't. And it shows. You could put me in front of all the EA guys, and I bet I'd feel very confident that I'm going to get a win. And I'm sure that goes for the same for many other people. But just the understanding of this makes sense as a game mechanic. This makes sense as something you should include. In let's say a week. 1 week, I could tell you a lot of the changes in FUT Champs, probably a lot less than that. That club name situation, I could have told you off the rip. That's a problem. After playing on that Stoke Stadium once or twice, I can tell you, hey, that's also a problem for a competitive game mode. You cannot have these weird stadiums. Well, you shouldn't. It's an easy change. Dedicate with those servers. Put some dedicated stadiums. Make some dedicated rules. Dedicated formations. Or, well, maybe I should say formations, but just a discretion or elimination of the custom formations. Because nobody ever uses a custom formation in a normal way. Just think about it for a second. You guys that have been matched up against custom formations. When have you played someone that used it in a way that was not abusing the game? And I just almost like a disrespect. I can't. I really can't remember or recall. All the custom formations I play against, it's never tactical either. People on Twitter are like, oh, we're just being tactical. I was like, what's tactical about 7 or 8 defenders? And if you're going to say that that's tactical because people in real life play defensive and they look to counter, well, then I want you to control all of your team. I don't want you to just hit the AI. All right? Don't just contain. I want you controlling everybody for 90 minutes. Give me 90 minutes to grind this out. And when I'm thinking of attacking custom formations, that's usually when somebody's losing and they end up with like 5 strikers and 5 at the back and there's no midfield. It's so strange looking. It wouldn't flow. It's not natural. It's not organic. It's still another way of truly abusing the game. And I have no problem with people running the baseline, pass across the body here, being sweaty, any of those things. And that kind of deals with game mechanics. Just if something's not allowed in a competitive event, I don't think it should be allowed in a competitive tournament, even if it's online. Makes sense? Same with attribute cards. Those got to go. That would have been so easy. 1 week. I'll tell you, no, 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 yes, yes, yes. Great game mode. You did a good job. People are going to love FUT Champs. We're not done talking about tactics, my friend. And I want to discuss the Park the Bus and what you can do against Park the Bus. And this past weekend was the most that I've ever experienced against the whole Park the Bus and the custom formation movement. At one point, I think I played against 5 straight Park the Bus players. And you see some of it where it's low-scoring games. I think I lost first one of them, and it was unlucky, too. If you're watching this video, you hoe back. It was so unlucky. I think he had one chance, and the chance that he had, he like ran through with Paul Pogba. Maybe you'll see the moment in the video. And I tackle him 3 times. He does a Berba spin. I remember it like it was yesterday. He does a Berba spin, and 2 of my players tackle him, and somehow they like bump off. Paul Pogba locks on and then hits it on the near post, and 1-0 loss. Just was never able to break through. I think I hit the post in that game too, man. Frustrating match. Just those are the types of games that makes you just even with some of the changes too, there's so much improvement that could be made to this title with very basic changes. If you made the AI defending more difficult, that's a great look, a great improvement. And then the elimination of, I don't know if we're gonna get rid of the Park the Bus, but at least custom formations, and you'd be at a place where I think you'd have a really great game. Because this game, this title in terms of mechanics, build-up, defending, so many things are good outside of the AI. The AI is way too overpowered. They do way too much. There's people that I play against where sometimes I'm thinking to myself, man, if this guy put down the controller, I would still have a lot of trouble trying to score. And you see that. Have you ever had somebody rage quit out of a game, but instead of leaving the game, they just put their controller down? And it took you a few tries to score. Literally nobody is controlling anything. That should be a sign. I know EA is pushing for the casual player, but come on now. But yeah, versus Park the Bus, I've made many different videos kind of discussing how to beat it, what's in your best interest. You better throw everything at the barn. I think there's a saying if you're in the country. Just throw the whole barn at your opponent. I mean, long shots, look for corner kicks. And what sucks is that you have to commit bodies. When you commit bodies, then you are more prone or more open to the counterattack, which is exactly what that player wants. It's like, a little bit of a double-edged sword, but long shots, corners, set pieces, and patience, man. Because you will most likely need that extra pass. When you get in the box, that doesn't mean that you've got a goal. When you're going up against someone who's playing a little more normal, even with a defensive line, you can still do one quick skill, a little pass and move, and you're open. However, versus Park the Bus, because that back line is sometimes sitting as far as their like 6-yard box. Okay, they're that far inside the box. You'll need one more pass, whether it's a pass across, whether it's even a 1-2 from within the box, something to open up a little bit more space. And you've got to take shots. If you have just a tad bit of room, got to overwhelm someone. Rebounds could be your best friend. They can make everything magical for you if you're playing against that type of opponent. I also want to talk about going against wide formations. I know I mentioned it earlier in the video, but it's where I struggle often because I have a narrow formation. And there's a couple different ways to counteract wide formations. And I'd recommend playing the match when you get into that game. Start out by playing the match as is. Because you need to vibe what type of opponent you're going up against. There's people that I play that are using a 4-3-3 or even a 4-3-2-1. And you're thinking, oh, maybe they're going to use the wings a lot, and they don't. They might use them as an outlet and they come back inside, but that doesn't mean that you're in a bad position then with your narrow formation because they're not using the wings where they're running the lines or really holding the ball out there. They are just using it as an outlet and then they're trying to work it inside, which is fine. You probably don't have to make any changes in those circumstances. If you trust your gameplay, it'll be okay. However, when you go against someone who is just all over that wing play over and over again, and maybe they get an early goal and you're like, oh boy. Or they get, maybe it's not an early goal, it's a late goal, it's midway goal, I don't know. But they score, and you've got to figure out a way to rebuttal, but you realize, damn, I can't pressure these people. I'm not going to be able to make this happen. I like mirroring their formation. So 4-3-3-4 versus 4-3-3-4. You cover the wide side. If you're ahead going into a 4-2-3-1, which is something I always recommend, if you're ahead in a match and you're comfortable in that formation or comfortable in a wide formation, I find that it is easier to find outlets. And then also if you're going up against somebody that's in a wide formation, you can start to cover that left wing and that right wing, or that left forward and that right forward. And you don't give them those easy, oh, I'm going to make a blind pass this way. I don't have to think too hard. I know this guy's going to be open. Because that's the issue when you're in a narrow formation, is that people think they got a wide open pass and they start feeling a little more comfortable. And that's not good for you. Another thing you can do if you don't want to switch formations, and I recommend this if you're comfortable doing it, because that's what it all comes down to, is this something that I can do with confidence? Am I confident about this change or this adjustment? Is this going to be a good look for me? And when you go into custom tactics, you can make your team wider. Increase the width. So instead of that narrow box that you're going with, or the triangles that you're building up, you're able to spread them a little bit wider and take away some of those early outlets, or maybe an easy through ball for your opponents down the wings. These are things that I found to be effective. I mean, so many minute, I'm talking small details, go into winning and losing games once you're over 30 wins even. Like, oh, did you win that penalty kick situation there? Oh, did you get a good bounce here? Did you know what to do with it? Oh, did you have a little bit more composure when you were putting together that final attack? You're going to see it in some of these matches where there's an 89th minute goal, or there's like the ability to close out a game. You see a couple 1-0 wins where it's like, okay, Mike did a good job there. And I don't really hold the game out. I'm not someone that runs to the corner and just sits and hits shield. That's not me. I'll still play you. I just try to be very careful. I don't want to gift you an opportunity, which is one of the worst feelings and can get you triggered. And when you get triggered in FIFA, sometimes there's no coming back until you've taken an hour walk, had a drink, sat down, called somebody, vented that information. You had to go somewhere, because I'll tell you, my blood pressure has to be through the roof when I'm playing FUT Champs, man. It truly has to be through the roof. And now let's talk about stats. So we're like, on screen you've seen we've played the majority of games here. So like, I'm going to let you guys see some of these stats. And I'm going to put them up at the end of the video as well, so I can let you know who performed, who didn't perform, what I like. So Ronaldo had a little bit of a down week in terms of his goals. Usually he scores 30 plus. He had 27 goals, still my leading goal scorer. Also my leading assist man, 23 assists. That's the real deal. I mean, he still combined, what is that, 60? Or 50, excuse me. 50 goals or assists within those 40 games. Good production, and I've said it once, but I like to reiterate. If Ronaldo is somebody that you've purchased, and he doesn't lead your team in goals or assists or both, then maybe it's time to put those coins in a few big players that could help you out a little bit more. And that's how I feel. And then we have Rui Costa, 19 goals, to go with 9 assists. Not bad from the cam position. I'm not someone that scores buckets of goals. Unfortunately, in FUT Champs, I just haven't been that guy. I don't blast some of those guys that I'm ahead in matches or a much better player. A lot of times I don't beat them 5, 6, 7-0. And because of people knowing that they're playing against me, if I get ahead, I find that I run into more rage quits than others. Count your rage quits for 40 games and let me know how many rage quits you get. Actually, in the comments, if you already know the answer or you can guesstimate, how many rage quits do you think you average through 40 games? Comments right now, because I would say that I average over 10, about 10-ish. And this weekend I had 12, according to the stats. But I would say I average at least 10. That's a lot when you think about it. If you win 35 games and 10 of those are quit outs, or 15 of those are quit outs, depending on how busy the weekend is, that's a lot of games that people are exiting early and they're like, I'm not going to do this. And it kills your skill rating and it kills how many goals you're able to actually produce. So I scored 94 goals this weekend, this past weekend, which is averaging, 2.3 goals, something around there per match. But if I had a full 90 minutes in some of these matches, I think that they would be closer to 3 goals per. That's just my opinion, of course. We can't really put some proof behind it. I only conceded 18 goals, which is 0.4. That's really been my bread and butter, is that I have been consistent defensively, and I can appreciate that. I like when I see that my defensive numbers are good, because I'm a big-time believer. Defense wins championships, and that's in all sports. Whether you're playing baseball, American football, footy, what did I leave out? Basketball. Doesn't really matter. Defense will always be the decider in the long term, especially in big games, big matches, because sometimes offense isn't that good. It cancels out a little bit, but good defense just seems to prevail, right? At least that's my opinion. Griezmann has 16 goals, and remember, he played like 30 or 31 games for me, something around there. And he had 12 assists as well, so that's not bad. He gave you almost a goal or an assist per game that he was involved. I also had 12 goals with Gareth Bale from that center mid position to go with 8 assists, which not too shabby. And Bale scores some badass goals too. He's got that Trivela shot from outside the box, and he'll burst forward out of nowhere. He scores some big goals, kind of like Pogba. I feel like Pogba also, because of his long shooting and some of his creativity with the 5-star skills, he offers you the ability to score goals that are a little bit more with some flair, a little razzle dazzle. We also had, like I said, Pogba with 9 goals and 9 assists. That's cool. Way in those 9 games, 6 goals, 2 assists. I underlined it. He's no longer like on the team. I'm not gonna buy him back. I think that I've learned everything I need to learn with George Weah. Highly not recommended. Leave him off. If you were thinking about it, put your coins in a different legend. Life will be fine for you, or maybe a Team of the Year player if you're saving up. But if you guys enjoyed it, make sure to drop a thumbs up. Also, let me know in the comments, best goal, worst goal. Who would you like to see next on another episode of the Interview a Pro, where it's like how to win more. I like to put that together. It's tricky sometimes to really find the people and see who has an hour or so to spend and go through a bunch of questions, put a face cam on, and then edit everything together. But let me know, who would you like to see there? I think I also asked about rage quits, all sorts of good stuff. You have a lot of things to comment about, but I have a lot more content coming for you ASAP. I appreciate it. We finished with 37 wins, 3 losses, and did not make the top 100. I missed it by 10 skill points. So there you go with the rage quits. Thank you very much. That's so close. I mean, so close. But until next time, peace.